Cheating isn't the worst betrayal. Sometimes it's selfish ambition, stealing your clients, your trust, your future. I found out too late, but my revenge was calculated, public, and unforgettable. I'm Sean, wedding photographer. That's not just my job, it's who I am. I don't half-ass this work. I live it. I'm the guy crawling on floors for the ring shot, hanging off balcony for the first kiss, staying up until 3 a.m. to get skin tones perfect. People hire me because I catch the real stuff, not the pose crap. That's my pride. My portfolio isn't just pretty pictures. It's proof that love is real when it's honest. And I believe my own life was proof too. Married to Jessica, my best friend Darren about to get married. Everything looked solid. I thought I had the same thing I sold to couples every weekend. That night started like every other. Me editing late, headphones half on, coffee gone cold. Jessica's phone buzzed on the counter. I grab it just to check the time. Dumb habit. Should have left it. Screen lights up. Message preview. Darren's name. I see words I can't unread. Romantic. Explicit. Signed with his name like a badge. My chest goes cold. I tell myself maybe it's a wrong thread. Could be a joke, right? But curiosity doesn't let go once it hooks. I swipe. I scroll. The screen becomes a timeline of betrayal. Weeks of texts. Flirty lines that turn into planning. Not just I miss you crap. No, this is business. Studio names. Gear lists. Talk about moving clients. My clients. My calendar. My years of grinding weddings for referrals. They're circling dates on my schedule like vultures. I'm scrolling, and it keeps getting worse. Screenshots of price sheets. Notes on venues. They're literally blueprinting a business on my back. My best friend and my wife. Plotting while I'm pulling 12-hour days to keep the roof over us. Then the kicker, Darren's wedding. Days away. I'm booked as the photographer. Him in a tux, me behind the lens, capturing vows while he's laughing behind my back. That realization hits harder than the sex talk. The hypocrisy is like acid. The same guy who hugged me last week and said, couldn't imagine anyone else shooting my big day. Now I see the private thread where he calls my work stiff, boring, and says with Jessica, they'll finally make photography feel alive. That's what he typed. Feel alive. I almost throw the phone across the room. Instead, I screenshot. That's when something shifts. I don't scream. I don't wake her up and demand answers. That's not me. I've always been the observer. My weapon is the lens, not my fists. So I decide, I'll do what I do best. I'll document. Calm on the surface, but inside, I'm boiling. A storm with nowhere to go yet. I open a hidden folder. Label it Archive. Screenshot after screenshot. Photos of the screen in case she deletes the thread. Backups on a drive. Evidence layered like negatives in a darkroom. The irony isn't lost on me. I'm cataloging my own marriage like a crime scene. And the whole time, this sick double image plays in my head. On one side, I've got the slideshow from Darren's wedding that I'm supposed to be finishing. Golden hour kisses, family hugs, laughter. On the other side, I've got Jessica and Darren's messages about stealing clients, booking sessions behind me, laughing about how predictable I am. Two stories running parallel, but only one gets shown to the world. For now, the betrayal cuts deeper than just the cheating. That would have been bad enough, yeah, but I could have walked away from that. What stings worse is the professional hit. My clients, my lists, my reputation, handed over like stolen passwords. That's my identity, my art, and they're treating it like a resource to plunder. I don't think Jessica even realizes how much that slice hurts more than the bedroom stuff. She thinks she's chasing love or excitement. What I see is sabotage. That's the line I can't forgive. So I play it cool. Days go by and I act normal. I still crack a joke with Darren on the phone. Still hand Jessica her coffee in the morning. But I'm working the angles in my head every second. Revenge simmers quietly. Not the loud, violent kind. That's easy. Too easy. I want something precise. Something poetic. A reveal that's undeniable. Proof shown in the same format I use to show love, images on a screen. The very thing that defines me will become the knife that cuts them open. In the mirror, I look the same. In the inside, I'm something else. I'm a man building a case. Building a story that will detonate when the timing is perfect. They don't know it yet. Darren's wedding is supposed to be his happiest day. He'll stand at the altar and think he's winning. Jessica will sit there glowing, thinking she's untouchable. And I'll be behind the camera, silent, calm, holding the truth like a loaded clip, waiting for the right moment to press play.
Hey there, I'm Jessica. I know how this looks from the outside, but I don't care. Everyone wants to paint cheating as this big moral collapse, but to me it wasn't that simple. Sean was a great guy, yes, but he lived for his work more than he lived for me. The man is obsessed with weddings, with editing, with tweaking light levels for strangers. He's got this tunnel vision. Brides adore him, grooms slap him on the back, but me? I got the leftovers. His eyes glued to a monitor until 2 a.m, coffee breath and a muttered, 1 SEC when I try to talk. That was my marriage. You think anyone could thrive in that? No. And then Darren came along. Darren reminded me what it feels like to laugh. Real laugh, not polite smile laugh. He made me feel seen. Like I wasn't just an accessory in Sean's busy schedule. With Darren, I wasn't competing with raw files and Lightroom sliders. I was center stage. And yeah, I leaned into it. Why wouldn't I? I'm young, I'm smart. I'm not supposed to just sit around waiting for scraps of attention while my husband edits someone else's love story until sunrise. That's not a life, that's a cage dressed up pretty. People will say it's about sex. Sure, that's part of it, but it's not the core. The real pull is energy. Sean sees photography as work. Darren and I see it as play, as art, as something alive. Sean's got spreadsheets and contracts. Darren and I had sketches, mood boards, ideas that made my chest feel electric. Late nights messaging, dreaming up a studio with plants in the lobby, wide windows, couches where clients felt at home. We weren't just fooling around. We were building something. That's the difference. I wasn't just chasing a thrill. I was planning a future. Do I feel bad Sean's business was our blueprint? Honestly, not really. He's set. He's established. His name carries weight. He'll always land on his feet. He doesn't need me propping him up. Darren does. Darren actually listens, actually leans on me, actually treats me like a partner. Sean never let me into his work world. He had his clients and his process, and I was on the outside, making dinner and waiting for him to join life. So yeah, if I'm helping Darren build something better, something that feels like ours, I don't see that as stealing. I see it as taking what I've earned after years of being sidelined. The secrecy? God, it's intoxicating. Knowing Sean is in the other room editing while I'm texting Darren under the covers, it made me feel alive again. Not ashamed. Alive. I'd forgotten what that felt like. My pulse quick, my mind buzzing with possibilities. That little rush became addictive. Not because I wanted to hurt Sean, but because it made me feel like I had something just for me. Something exciting, something worth staying up for. When you've been invisible long enough, the spotlight feels like oxygen. And the studio, we talked about it constantly. Not just someday talk. Real plans. Names, pricing, how we'd lure clients with packages Sean never thought of. We knew which couples to approach. We knew who'd bite. Sean saw his clients as numbers on a list. I saw them as stepping stones to freedom. Cold. Maybe. But in business you take opportunities where they fall, and these were practically handed to us. Why should Sean keep them all when he doesn't even appreciate the possibilities right under his nose? The best part? Darren's wedding was right there on the horizon, and I knew it wasn't just his marriage starting, it was ours. Our launch pad. People thought they were watching a bride and groom beginning their lives. What they didn't know was that in the background, Darren and I were starting something even bigger. A business, a love, a new chapter. Sitting at rehearsal dinners, I was already picturing how soon everything would shift. I'd smile at Sean across the table, nod along, and inside I was already gone. Already building the life I wanted with someone who actually got it. I won't apologize for wanting more. I won't apologize for refusing to shrink into the wife who waits quietly while her husband builds his empire. I gave years to Sean's dream. I played the supporting role. Now it's my turn. My chance to be the one who creates, the one who leads, the one who decides what the future looks like. And Darren? He's the perfect co-star. He doesn't just want me in the picture, he makes me part of the frame. That's the difference. That's why I stayed. That's why I chose this path. Sean will be fine. He's always fine. He'll bury himself in work, line up more clients, rebuild whatever he thinks he lost. But me? I only get one shot at this kind of fire. One shot to take my life off the shelf and put it front and center. And I'm not about to let it pass.
Life didn't stop just because my marriage was a joke. I still had shoots lined up. Couples still wanted me to capture their first kiss, their first dance, the tear on a mom's cheek. And I still did it because that's what I do. I keep the camera steady, I deliver. On the outside, I was the same Sean everyone trusted. On the inside, every click of the shutter reminded me that my own story was rotten. I'd hold a camera to my eye and think, these people don't know how lucky they are. Then I'd pack my gear, smile, and drive home to the woman planning to burn me down with my best friend. Every time Darren called, it felt like someone jabbing a bruise. He'd laugh, ask if I was excited for his wedding, talk about details. He had no clue I already knew. That was the hardest part, acting normal. Pretending his jokes still landed, pretending Jessica's texts weren't bouncing around in my head while she asked me what I wanted for dinner. I wanted to throw it in their faces. But I didn't. I stayed quiet. I collected. That's who I am. The observer. The documenter. If they wanted to scheme in secret, I'd make sure the truth got its moment in the light. And when it did, there'd be no crawling out of it. I started building the plan like I'd build any wedding slideshow. First, I laid out the beats. Romantic build-up, then the gut punch reveal. I wanted it to hit the room like a wave, slow then crushing. My revenge wasn't going to be a fight in the kitchen or a screaming match in the street. Too messy, too easy to twist. My revenge was going to be clean, precise. Evidence laid out frame by frame, impossible to argue with. Images don't lie. Screenshots don't stutter. You show people the truth in sequence and they can't unsee it. That's the only language I trust. I'd sit at my laptop after shoots, folder open, curating. Screenshot of Darren calling her baby at the same time he was emailing me about tux fittings. Message about stealing my clients. Calendar with my bookings circled in red. The kiss photo I caught in the doorway, grainy but undeniable. I lined them up like dominoes. Every time I added another, I felt calmer. It wasn't rage anymore. It was focus. A project. My most important one yet. Still, I wrestled with myself. I'm not blind. I knew this would blow up lives. Families, friendships, maybe even my own reputation. People would call it cruel, maybe even cowardly, to drop the bomb at a wedding. I thought about confronting them in private. Just walking up, laying it all out, leaving with my dignity. But that felt too easy for them. Too clean. They'd spin it, deny, gaslight. Made me look bitter. No, I wanted the truth in the open, undeniable with an audience. That's how betrayal like this deserves to be exposed. You cheat in the dark, you steal behind backs, then you face the light when it hits. So I stayed the course. I tested the slideshow transitions like I'd test lenses before a shoot. Fade speed, audio timing, brightness. I wanted it flawless. If it glitched, if it stuttered, they could claim tampering or fakeness. It had to run smooth, like every other slideshow I'd ever done, until the moment it didn't. Until the text and photos ripped through the room and left nothing but silence. Every interaction with them sharpened me. Jessica walking by with a casual smile, Darren slapping my back. It all just fueled the fire. I didn't yell. I didn't confront. I just filed it away, another reminder of why I was right to do this. People think anger means shouting. For me, anger meant stillness, planning, precision. They thought my calmness was ignorance. It was actually the warning sign they missed. I'd lie awake some nights and wonder what it would feel like when it happened. Would I feel vindicated? Hollow? Would it actually fix anything? I didn't know, but I knew I couldn't keep living as if nothing happened. I couldn't keep letting them plan a future with my work while I played the fool. My revenge wasn't just about betrayal. It was about respect. About showing them they picked the wrong guy to underestimate. You don't take my marriage, my business, my trust, and walk away clean. Not when I've got the receipts. So I built it, slide by slide, a truth bomb dressed like a wedding montage. My finger would be on the trigger, but the images would do the work. And when the lights dimmed at Darren's reception and the room hushed for the slideshow, I'd hit play. Not loud, not violent, just undeniable. The way I've always told stories, with proof no one can deny.
The night felt perfect. Warm lights, champagne bubbles, laughter rolling through the reception hall. I'd done my hair just right. My dress hugged me in all the right places, and everywhere I looked people were smiling. Nights like this, you feel untouchable. Darren was the star of the evening, but in my head I felt like I was in the spotlight too. I wasn't just another guest sipping a drink. I was standing at the edge of something new, something exciting. This was the beginning of our future. Sean was busy at his laptop like he always is, crouched and focused, head bent. He looked so small, so harmless, like a worker bee buzzing in the corner. It almost made me laugh. He was so predictable. I'd been running scenarios in my head for weeks. How soon Darren and I could quietly peel clients from Sean's list. Which couples were ripe for the picking. What our studio would look like once we made it official. I already had the name picked out. I could practically see the ribbon cutting, the posts online, people congratulating us. The thrill of it all was better than the champagne in my glass. Sean thought he was running the show, but really, I was holding the strings. That's how it felt, powerful. Like finally, after years of being sidelined, I was about to step into my real life. The slideshow started, Sean's usual signature move. Soft piano, black and white shots fading into color. Guests leaned forward, cooing at romantic frames of Darren and his bride. It was predictable but polished, exactly the kind of thing Sean always did. I relaxed in my chair, soaking it in. This was the moment where everything blended perfectly, the public life and the secret one. I felt steady. I felt like nobody could touch me. I was even narrating in my head. Perfect kiss, perfect smile, perfect crowd. My future was unfolding beautifully. He hit play and handed the small remote to the DJ like it was nothing. The projector took over, bright and steady, and he folded his laptop shut with the neatness of someone closing a camera bag. To me it looked like a magician's trick, Sean stepping out of the picture even while the show was continuing. Then the screen shifted. A screenshot, blue and gray message bubbles, Darren's name at the top. My stomach jolted, but my brain tried to laugh it off. Maybe it was some prank slide. But the line in the bubble was one of Darren's endearments, private, something only between us. My chest tightened. The next slide was worse. A grainy photo, me and Darren in a doorway, arms tangled, kissing. You couldn't mistake it. The room froze. The air thinned. I told myself it had to be fake, but the timestamp was a knife in the gut. The slides kept stacking. Messages about shifting clients. Calendar entries with Sean's bookings circled. An email draft labeled client list. A photo of Darren's hand on my back in a hotel lobby. Each one piled on the last. The whispers started, fast and sharp. Phones lifted. Faces twisted. It was like watching a wall of trust collapse in slow motion. I turned to Darren, waiting for him to say something, anything. He stammered, useless, words breaking off before they left his mouth. That weakness left me exposed. Then the bride moved and the slap cracked across Darren's face. The sound cut the air clean. Before I could process it, her hand struck me too, a sting that left my cheek hot. She shouted at me to take him. Take everything I had stolen, called me the name everyone in the room was already whispering under their breath. Her voice shook with rage, but it landed like stone. People gasped. Some half cheered, others just stared. I stood there stunned, cheek burning, the taste of humiliation sharp as metal. I tried to steady myself, but my body betrayed me. I reached for Darren, and he stepped back like my touch was poison. That was the moment the bottom dropped out. He wasn't my partner anymore. He was just another coward caught in the mess we made, leaving me to carry the weight. And Sean, he didn't gloat, didn't yell. He packed his bag with slow efficiency, the way he always packs up after a job. He looked at me once, just once. Not angry, not triumphant, just finished. That look stole the last excuse I had left. Everything I thought I was building snapped like cheap thread. The slideshow wound down with the final blows. Receipts, files, messages lined up like evidence in court. The projector went dark and the noise swelled. Guests breaking into groups, some swearing, some rushing to comfort the bride. Phones flashing, people filming. It felt like the room was closing in on me. Folding chairs and scattered napkins turned into a cage. My heart raced, my face burned, but no words came. Nothing I could say would compete with what had already been shown. Sean walked out through the chaos, his camera on his shoulder, steady as ever. And I just stood there, slapped raw, humiliated, surrounded by people who looked at me like I was poison. For the first time since this all began, I had no story left to tell. Only the rubble of what I'd done, and the sick knowledge that it was mine alone.